Three kingdoms neighboring each other are ruling in harmony, but there is something quirky going on with the people in each of these kingdoms. From being captivated by a giant insect to being obsessed with wishes, the tales described in the movie are nothing but crazy. So what is actually going on in the three kingdoms? Guess you'll have to stick around to the end to see how the whole story unfolds. Hello and welcome to Comedy Recap. Today we will give you a recap of the film Tale of Tales. Spoilers ahead, obviously. And without further ado, let's dive right into it. The movie opens with the scene of a man walking in the streets outside the walls of a palace. Then the scene shifts to inside the palace, and it's the court of a king where some kind of festival is going on. Many clowns and circus performers are showing off their skills, while the king of Longtrellis and his wife, the queen of Longtrellis, are seeing the performances. However, while performing, one of the female performers shows off her belly, which tells that she is pregnant. Seeing that, the queen gets upset and runs towards her room. The king goes behind him and calms her down and tells her that if he had known she was in such condition, he wouldn't have allowed that. In the night, we see that a mysterious-looking man comes to the palace. He is covering himself in a cloak, and all we can see is his evil-looking face. Then we see that both the king and queen go to visit him. The man tells the ruling couple that if they want to have a child, then the king must kill the sea monster and bring back its heart. Once the heart is cooked by a virgin girl and the queen eats it, she will immediately give birth to a child. The very next morning, King gets ready and goes deep into the water to kill the monster. He stabs the monster, but ends up getting bruised by its tail while it took its last few breaths. Still, he gets successful in killing the monster, and the queen brings the heart back to the palace. A girl from the kitchen is chosen to cook the heart, and once it is cooked, we see the queen eating it. The same night, two births take place at the palace. One is at the queen's, and the other birth is given by the girl who cooked the heart. Then we see the dead king is being taken for burial. The scene shifts to 16 years later, where we see the queen running after her son Elias in the maze-like yard. Elias, however, gets successful in sneaking away from his mother, and then both Elias and Jonah, who is the second boy who was born on the same night, Queen's mother fails to catch them both. But when she sees Elias running away on horseback with Jonah, she goes back to her castle and scolds the maid. She asks her to keep her son away from Elias. Elias enters the court exactly at the time when the maid is leaving, so he asks his mother while she is scolding her. She has nothing to do with any of it. Queen talks to Elias and tells him that if they don't stop seeing each other, then it's going to have severe consequences for both of them. Next up, we see the king of Strongcliff, who has just gotten up and is in the scene inside of a brothel, where the king was lying among many half-naked women. The king walks back towards his castle, and then he hears a very beautiful humming sound of a young girl singing in the distance. He follows the sound, and once he sees the house where she lives, the king sends a gift for her. But when the woman receives the gift, we get to see that the woman who the king was confusing for some young 17-year-old is a very old woman. In the night, the king comes knocking at the door and asks if she liked the gift and that he wants to see her. One of the old ladies' names is Dora, and she has a very beautiful voice. She allures the king with her voice, and without opening the door, she convinces the king to come back a week later. Then we see the third kingdom, where the king of Highhills is enjoying his daughter playing violin in an amphitheater. But while his daughter is performing, the king gets distracted by a flea that has landed over his hand. As soon as the performance of his daughter ends, he goes to his chambers and puts the flea into a small box. Then we see the king of Highhills and his daughter, Violet, talking over the dinner table. Violet describes her father as the type of husband she wants. As soon as they get done with dinner, the king takes the leftover meat of her daughter and takes it to his room to feed it to the flea that is now the size of a dog. From here, the scene goes back to the Longtrellis castle, where the queen overhears Jonah telling Elias how he deceived the queen. The two boys look exactly the same, so when Jonas tells this to Elias, Elias proposes that we can do everything together. He says that he can share the kingship. After overhearing the conversation, the queen comes to Elias and tells him that she loves him a lot and leaves. Afterward, Queen follows Jonah and tries to kill him. In the morning, Jonah leaves the castle and tells Elias about his well, and says if the water in the well turns muddy, then it will mean that he is in trouble. On the other hand, the king of Strongcliff reaches the women's house and asks her to meet him. She agrees that she will come to the king's chamber, only on the condition that all the candles will be blown off so the king cannot see her face. The king agrees, and late at night, Dora goes to the king's chamber in the pitch dark. In the morning, the king takes a look at her face, and upon knowing she is an old woman, he asks the guards to throw her out the window. An old woman saves the life of Dora and feeds her milk from her breast, which turns Dora into a beautiful young lady. When the king of Strongcliff goes for a hunt in the woods, he finds out about Dora and the two decided to marry. Meanwhile, the flea of the king of Highhill dies in his chamber, so he decides to give his daughter's hand in marriage to someone who will guess what skin it is. Turns out that an ogre recognizes it's a flea skin, so Violet is married off to an ogre who takes her to his cave. At the same time, the water in the well turns bloody, so Elias leaves the castle in search of his brother. The queen of Longtrellis tries to find him in the jungle but fails. In search of his brother, Elias goes to a village where he finds Jonah's new family. The family confuses Elias for Jonah, but after getting some information, Elias goes into the jungle and finds Jonah in a cave. Just when Elias is bringing him out, a monster attacks them, but Elias stabs the monster and kills it. Jonah returns back to his family, and just then we see that the monster Elias killed was the queen's mother. On the other hand, the king of Strongcliff and Dora are getting married. Dora sends an invite to her older friend, Ima. At the wedding, the friend finds out that Dora has become young. Ima says to Dora that she wants to stay, but Dora makes her leave the castle once the marriage ceremony is over. But just when Dora is getting ready for her bed, Ima comes back to her room, so she had to hide behind the cupboard. While the royal couple is enjoying their intimate night, Ima comes out from hiding, and as soon as the king sees her, he asks the guards to throw her out. Then we see Violet, who is sitting outside the cave. She asks the woman to help her, and the next day the woman brings her sons who save her from the ogre. But as soon as Violet escapes, the ogre finds out and he follows them. Ogre struck them midway and kills all the family members of the girl who helped Violet escape. After killing everyone, he catches Violet, but after strangling her, he drops her. The ogre asks Violet to get over his back, but as soon as he picks her up, Violet slits his throat and goes back to her father's castle with the ogre's head in her hands. The king apologizes to his daughter and marries her off to another man. Although they didn't show who she was married to, it seems like Violet marries Elias. Among many people attending the ceremony, the king of Strongcliff and his new wife also stand among the crowd. Suddenly, Dora starts aging, and the movie ends as soon as she runs away from the castle. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.